an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Actually am in the Sunbury Motor Studio, like here. It's great to be with everybody today. All right, opening half hour being brought to you by our great friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory, and I mean the best. And a great treatment by their sales staff. Look, they just want to know what you're looking for, and then they'll steer you in the direction and ask you what you think. Not exactly what you're like, oh, I get overwhelmed. Like, no, not these guys. That's not how they do things. They're all about you, about the customer. And great pre-owned inventory, because the budget may be screaming pre-owned inventory. Well, go to a place where they go over every vehicle and they give you the Sunbury Motors guarantee. And the service department, quick lane inspections, routine, difficult, all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Before we continue, we must recognize the most important job, and for many they would call it a labor of love. Mother's Day is this weekend. So to all the moms out there, stepmoms, grandmothers, all right, okay, happy Mother's Day to each and every one of you. I was blessed to have an incredible mom, blessed to have an incredible grandmother. So I understand. You know, I was fortunate I had the best, and I'm sure you feel the same way about yours. So happy Mother's Day to all of you out there. And don't forget Mom this weekend, because you really don't want to have the stare down on Sunday. You know what day is today, right? You know what day is, right? You don't really need that moment. So I strongly recommend you go out, take care of it today. Right? Do something. I believe the suit is buying his wife hockey tickets. All right, so okay, don't make that mistake either. While nice on a normal weekend, not this weekend. All right. Okay. So a couple things. And then Greg Murphy, by the way, at 2:35 today. Looking forward to talking to Greg about the Phillies. Yes, they were, I would say in baseball terms, bludgeoned last night. But they have played better since Don Mattingly became the manager of the team. All right. But a couple things for you. Let's start with this. The Seattle Seahawks, when I was out there for it turned out, just out of complete irony, Penn State was playing basketball at Washington the day they had the Super Bowl parade. But that was also the time where they were announcing that they were selling the team. And so it's the Allen family. And when you see the owner of the team, I believe she's the sister of Paul Allen, the late Paul Allen. And right now, what's surprising to them is that the interest in buying that team is allegedly soft. Like, oh, really? That team is loved out there. Loved. I'll give you an example. I mean, I know it's the Super Bowl. I understand that. So you win the Super Bowl. Incredible. It's the hottest time to sell the team. Dick Girardi, who's my basketball color analyst, the best. I was doing this show, but of course, being out in Seattle doing this show, I was doing this show from 10 a.m. to noon out there. So Dick wanted to go down and he wanted to see the University of Washington football stadium. Okay. So they're going to have the Super Bowl parade. He goes down there, no issue, and then he takes the train back to the hotel. And I said, how crowded was it? And he looked at me, he says, Steve, it was like riding the train in Tokyo. He said it was just, everybody was jammed in there. There were so many people. They loved that team. They had 1 million people for that parade. So this is the hot time to sell them. What's interesting, though, is that right now they're saying the interest in selling this team is allegedly soft. They're not getting, it hasn't generated the interest the NFL hoped it would get from the estate of Paul Allen. They put the team up for sale right after the Super Bowl win, and they said there just isn't much action. When Denver and Washington were put up for sale, the action was all over the place. And eventually Josh Harris, much to Matt Catrillo's chagrin, but Matt Catrillo defined chagrin, they ended up buying the team. And by the way, Magic Johnson, I don't think a lot of people realize is one of the minority owners of the Washington Commanders. I think Roger Haddon wants to be, and I think he'd like to make some changes. And then the Broncos were the same way with the Bolin estate. They say the situation is fluid, but they say that there are doubts among NFL owners and executives about whether the Seahawks sale where it is right now. They thought it would spark a bidding war, and they thought the franchise would get $11 billion. They said they believe the team will sell for slightly above $9 billion right now, which is still a record price for an NFL team. But, look, Rob Walton, who is, when I mentioned Rob Walton, we're talking about that's Walmart. All right, that's, like, look at the Rams, Stan Kroenke and Ann Walton. Okay? It's interesting when you are in a house and Stan Kroenke and Ann Walton are there. They're married. And you're trying to figure out which one's richer. Okay. Well, Rob Walton bought the Broncos for $4.7 billion, $4.65. Josh Harris bought the Commanders a year later for $6.05. The Buss family sold majority ownership in the Lakers for $10 billion. And Lynn Bond, the co-founder and vice chairman of Zomi, purchased 1% stake in the Miami Dolphins, and they bought it for a record $12.5 billion valuation. Really? And this is the Seattle thing is troubling because they're a winner. They have not a good fan base. They have a great fan base. When your only number retired is 12 for the fans, tells you everything. That's why they always talk about the 12s out there all the time. But that was a surprise to see that. Beaver Stadium, they are getting closer and closer to having when you look at the pictures of the stadium, and I drove by the stadium this morning, just by happenstance, not for any other reason except for just happened to be, when you live there, you drive past it. And the west side, you're seeing the girders being put up for the upper seats. And then if you see the pictures, they go up, and you can see actually where the rows are going to be. And then at the top, which looks like it's a covering. Well, it is going to be a covering, except that's where the new lights are going to go. Up top, across. They're making great progress on it. The weather has been great, which has really helped. And the idea is to have most, if not all, of the upper level done by the end of the year, calendar year. I was told this is how they're going to do the lower level that exists right now. So for all of you who currently do sit in seats on the west side, from NB all the way over to the concrete section where the students are, I was told that starting early next year, they're going to, with a crane, lift out all of those sections one by one and bring them up over the top and out. Okay. I was then told they're going to take the new seats and put them on a crane and lift them up and lower them in. I'm glad I announced. don't have to be out there for that. It'll be interesting. I'm sure there'll be people that'll be interested to see it. But yeah, that's what they want to do with it. So the progress is being made. I know there's an event I have to be at the stadium on Tuesday to do at noon. But I mean, I was just in there for a couple of practices before the blue-white practice. Anyway, I was already been in there, so I already saw I was really taken aback by how much progress had been made, and it's going to be really impressive when it's done. I know people will take shots at $750 million, so forth. At some point, something has to be done. So let me break down the $750 million for you. Remember, about $200 million of this is back maintenance. They've been doing maintenance to make sure it's up to code. Do maintenance, it's up to code. Do maintenance, it's up to code. So you're meeting code. But if you really want to do a great job, you really needed about $200 million to really do that job, just on the basic maintenance of it. And what they are, and so they've been able to take care of all that and widening the concourses and winterizing the stadium. And the NHL was blown away by the Penn State-Michigan State hockey game that drew over 74,000 fans. And remember, that's the first time that an outdoor hockey event in a stadium or a ballpark has been done where the NHL was not participating. Penn State, for example, played at Wrigley Field against Notre Dame. But that was part as an add-on to the Winter Classic. We've got the ice out there, so since we have the ice out there, let's put as many hockey games out there as possible. Hey, Big Ten, how about putting Penn State and Notre Dame out there as one of the games? I mean, and that's what happens because it's there. Use it. And for example, Penn State had the women's ice hockey team play, with all the Olympians out there, and they played on it on a Friday. Penn State played their game on a Saturday. The little kids in the area got to have their practices out there Wednesday and Thursday, and it was 5 degrees. It's like, okay. I think everybody's looking around saying, how much longer are we going to stay out here? No, we're good. We had the thrill, we had the thrill of being out there. So the NHL has been already like, hey, this is incredible. Now, for those of you who went to the blue-white practice, you saw the field out there. Field's in great shape. They had to install a new field after the hockey game. That's one thing that you'll see is that two things really do a number on fields. One, concerts. And two, if I put a hockey game there. I was in Minnesota, and the hotel we stay in downtown Minnesota when Penn State plays basketball with the Gophers is downtown, and out my window I can see Target Field where the Twins played. And this is a couple of years ago, and they just had the Winter Classic there. It was, I think I was there in mid-January, and no snow was on the ground, fortunately. And I looked out my window, and you could still see the infield going into the outfield where the rink was, the outline of it, and it had really done a number on the grass there. Well, that's the same thing that happened here. When Luke Combs came to Beaver Stadium, part of the contract was the way they were splitting up costs and so forth is that he had to replace the field as part of the cost. I believe it was out of his cut because they try to work it out where it's fair for everybody. I guess it was out of his cut they had to replace the field because concerts do a number of fields. Well, you put a hockey rink there, and last time I checked, no grass grows at that time of the year anyway. It does a number on it. You have to replace it. They replaced it. So that's all set as well. Local fans. Nick Sirianni took the time out last night to go to the We Are in Philly event for Penn State football last night. For those who may not be familiar, Matt Campbell and Nick Sirianni were teammates and roommates at Mount Union in Ohio. And Nick came out last night with Saquon Barkley, as a matter of fact, to be at the We Are in Philly event, which was sold out. They still have to do the Shore event. I know that's coming up down in Avalon, I believe. They still have to do that one. They've already done one in Pittsburgh. They did that the opening day of the NFL draft. Then they had that event last night. It was sold out, but Saquon Barkley and Nick Sirianni were both there. And I know they asked Nick Sirianni about, gee, what's it like to coach Penn State players? he zeroed in on a Penn State player, his running back. He says, this guy just comes out. He's just a great teammate, great guy, and he's exactly right. And he's a big reason why you have a ring. There are other guys that contributed. But it was not a great night for Philadelphia altogether last night. Number one, the Flyers. They lose to the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, let's be honest. Carolina and Colorado might be the best two teams left in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So is it any disgrace to lose to them? No. But it's how the game ended. We lost 4-1. And so we're just going to fight at the end. Why don't you go to the locker room and figure out how to win? Hey, fighting them? Are you going to fight them? So they ended a brawl. Really? Then there's the Sixers. These are all the Matt Catrillo teams. They're all a problem. Every one of them is a problem. You know, the Yankees spend more money than the Seahawks are worth. The Sixers are begging their fans to not sell their tickets to Knicks fans. If you recall last year, it was a big problem because Knicks fans were all over what is now the Xfinity Mobile Center. They were all over the place last year. Oh, I can't believe this. So now they're donating 500 tickets for each of their remaining home second-round games to area community groups. I hope they realize the Brooklyn YMCA is not a local community group. Just kidding. Sorry, 500 tickets. The donation is very nice, by the way. So let's not be critical of the donation. 500 tickets, in terms of like keeping Knicks fans out, is not going to make a difference. So let me talk about fans that do this. Okay? Because, look, it's not as if in broadcasting Penn State football and basketball games, I don't care whether I'm at Beaver Stadium or I'm at Michigan or I'm at Indiana or USC. It doesn't matter. I see the opposing team's fans all over the stadium. I mean, I went to the Coliseum in Los Angeles. There were Penn State fans all over the place in there. And it's not as if when I do a Penn State Michigan game, it's not like I don't see some Michigan fans at the 50-yard line. Of course I do. But I'm not going to be critical of that. And here's the reason why. Everything today is about money. The time the game tips off or kicks off, right? It's because of the networks. Why the networks? Money. Right? Price of the tickets, money. Price of the parking, money. You know, why is Penn State going to wear Adidas uniforms this year for the first time ever? Money. Right? Which is fine. That's fine. I have nothing wrong with that. You've got to be able to pay for things. There's nothing wrong with money. That's why I have no problem with you selling your tickets, because guess what? What, you're not supposed to get money if you can't go? I have no problem with that. I mean, you'd like to see loyalty. Wish the suits some. No. Dave Ritchie, you and I, simpatico. But I understand when, like, what, I'm not allowed to sell my tickets? Yeah, would you prefer to sell to a Sixers fan? Sure. But it's okay for everybody else to make money, and it's not okay for me to sell my tickets? I paid for them. It's not okay to sell them? I mean, people get bent out of shape about that stuff. I don't. Maybe I'm at the stage of my life I don't get bent out of shape about much anymore. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. You know? I don't. I mean, I think I used to walk into the stadium and I'd be like, oh, why are all those, like, and it wouldn't be a lot. Look at those Michigan fans at the 50-yard line. Golly. Like, this is our stadium. This is our place. I don't get like that anymore. I go, hey, whatever. The vast majority of people in here are for Penn State. Go from there. That's fine. It's not as if I haven't seen Penn State takeovers in other stadiums. Remember when the Penn State student body took over Maryland Stadium? Took it over. Like, okay. Everybody's like, yeah, see that? Yeah, okay. So it happens other places. I mentioned the Coliseum. Penn State fans were all over the Coliseum. All right, this opening half hour brought to you by the great people at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And this half hour being brought to you by our great friends at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life. Let's face it, those are the basics. In fact, the Suits family's been begging him to get more life insurance. Yes. And business insurance. Boat, motorcycle, RV. They handle it all. They make sure, A, that you're fully covered. B, they do everything they can to find any way to save you money, because customer service means everything to them. They are great people who are great pros. Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Time now for the Suit text of the day. All right. Quote, I picked a good weekend to be here in town. The NASCAR haulers are on their way through the area on 11 and 15, headed to Watkins Glen. I just passed the Bubba Wallace car hauler on the way up. Talk about luck. That's really great. Was Bubba hauling it, or were they just hauling Bubba's car? Oh, and then, I heard something click. That's great. Oh, I feel so much better. Wow, man, are we lucky you came in. Wow. All right. Jeez. And not only that, the NASCAR call haulers are in the area as well. They might be listening to the show. That's incredible. Have you ever been to Watkins Glen?
Yes.
Yeah. Do they know? You've been to Watkins Glen?
No, it's closed.
It sounds like most of your life. And again, getting your wife tickets to see the baby Pens for Mother's Day, not a good move. Just so you know, not a good move.
I asked. She said, no, I'm good.
I got them anyway. Maybe she wants you to go there. Maybe that would actually be her Mother's Day gift if you weren't there. How about that?
Oh. It's sad but true.
My goodness. I got to hit that button over there. All right, now move that. It's a potentiometer. All right. And then this cord here. Did I ever tell you the story? Okay. Did I ever tell you the story? I was working at a radio station at State College at the time. And I was working on the AM side. And when I walked over, and we had just changed engineers. So just changed engineers. The guy had been the engineer for a long time, a guy named Bud Volz. Great guy. And he finally decided to retire. Okay. So this new guy is in there, and he's looking over at the FM side. And I just happened to walk over just to talk to the FM DJ, Paul DeMille. Hey, Paul, how you doing? What's going on? This guy's in there, and he's looking over. He goes, what is this? He says, there's a paper clip up here. Right? He says, and Paul says, well, just don't touch anything. Okay? And he goes up, and he gets up on a chair, and he takes the paper clip out, and the radio station goes off the air. Pew! He's standing there holding it, and he says, "You can't keep a radio station in the air with a paper clip." Right? And Paul, he goes, "You idiot." He grabs the thing, takes the paper clip, jams it back up there, goes back on the air. He says, "That's impossible." He says, "Just don't touch anything." And I'm doing everything I can not to fall on the floor laughing. Right? I think I'll just quietly go back to the other side and do my talk show on the AM station. It was just, yes, we were kept on by that station was kept on by a paperclip. You can't keep a station on the air with a paperclip. Yes, you can. I've been a witness. You can do that. I think I just watched the same thing happen. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. So, yeah, we talk about people selling their tickets all the time. Again, it doesn't bother me anymore. Again, what, everybody else is allowed to make money except for you? Now, am I crazy about it? Because you'd like, as a Penn State broadcaster, I'd like to see everybody in the building be Penn State fans. Man, we might be on the air now. I don't know. Here we go. Right. Look, just do your IndyCar update. That way we can get the thing out of the way, okay? Just do your IndyCar update.
I haven't yet. I have to study.
You have to study.
I haven't seen any of the practices.
Excuse me. Why have you suddenly changed how you do things?
I haven't seen any practice yet.
They just go around in a circle.
Oh, no. They make right turns on this one.
Oh, who cares about this thing? That guy's a Grand Prix thing. As far as I'm concerned, what they did was they took out, they made them change parts of the golf course to do it.
That they do.
It's disgusting. Disgusting, I tell you. By the way, if you're wondering, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, there is an 18-hole golf course, of which 4 of the holes are in the infield. And it bothers him that I've walked on the track there and he hasn't. I think I've told that story before. In fact, I know I've told that story before. Or Big Ten basketball media days, and they, I was like, okay, I got to rent a car. Let's make it work here. So I drove over to Speedway, which is in Speedway, Indiana, just outside of the Indianapolis city limits. I thought, you know what? I've got time this morning. They don't start till this afternoon. Let's go over this morning. So I went through the museum and saw, all the cars, Mario Andretti's 1969 winning car and everything that goes with it, all the other winning cars that are in there. They said, there's a bus that takes you around the track. I said, okay. Now, I'm over there. I think we're there like it was a Tuesday morning or something. There is nobody there. I've got the entire museum to myself. So I said, all right, I'll pay the extra money. I'll go around the track, right? So I'm the only guy on the bus. The only guy in the bus. So, the bus driver and I are talking. We're going around. We go in the back stretch and the whole deal. And he swings it around. We get to the start-finish line. He stops the bus. He looks back at me and says, "You want to walk on the track?" I said, "I'd love to walk on the track." He looks at me. He goes, "Go ahead. Do what you want." So I'm over there walking on the track. I'm at the bricks. I'm over at where the pits are, the whole thing, right? He says, "Hey," I said, "just let me know when you need me to get back on the bus." He goes, "Hey, no sweat. You do what you want." Because, he also, in conversation, like, "What do you do for a living?" I told him what I did, and he thought that was really cool. So, so I think I had a little more leeway because of it. And I said, "Just let me know when you want me back." So I walked all over the place, right? And of course, I tell El Sudaroni over here, it's almost like they let him walk on the track, not me. The greatest Indianapolis 500 fan in the world, and they let that individual, that vermin, walk on the track. I did not kiss the bricks. I didn't win, so I didn't kiss any bricks. Also, it's also dirty too. And you know what? You notice when you're there at the track? Number one, how long the front stretch and the back stretch happen to be. But when you're standing there, how long the front stretch is. Look, the track is 2.5 miles around. Right, so you expect the front stretch to be long, but here's the part that's really interesting to me was how narrow it actually was. Now, I know those cars aren't big to begin with, but it's like, I can see why certain things happen in this area of the track. It's just not very wide. But yes, there is a golf course in the center of it. And they do this F1 thing or whatever they're doing. They're like spinning all over the place, whatever. They had to reconfigure a couple of holes to do that. That's sacrilege. But that's that's another story for another day. Okay. We're in what is allegedly the quiet time of the year in college sports. Yes, you'll have right now UCLA beat Penn State last night 6-1 in the Big Ten tournament after Penn State had won to advance to the quarterfinals. Then the UCLA is a terrific team. Penn State baseball has Washington this weekend. It's the final home series of the season. So we're at that stage. But the Penn State men's and women's lacrosse teams are in the NCAA tournament. The women get Stanford. The men are home tomorrow. At 2, it's a whiteout. They will host Army in the opening round of the NCAA tournament at Beaver Stadium tomorrow. And the winner gets the 1 seed in the bracket, Princeton. But that is home at Panzer tomorrow afternoon when they take on Army looking to advance. The 4th straight year that Penn State has been in the NCAA lacrosse tournament, and a couple times have gone to the Final Four under Jeff Tambroni. He's just a great coach. Kayla Trainer's done a great job with the women's lacrosse program. They're back in the NCAAs. Terrific season for them. The homecoming game is partially set. When I mean partially, there's no kickoff for the game. That's what I mean by partially. But it's going to be Wisconsin. And that is going to be September 26th. It is the earliest homecoming game since 2007. As if that really matters. But it's just a point of interest. I think earlier the better anyway. When it comes to something like that, the idea like, hey, let's do homecoming at the end of October. I just want to point out it's actually kind of chilly today. When you live there, and obviously I live there, I only live like 3 miles from the stadium. When you live there, homecoming doesn't have the same meaning. Yeah. Like, okay, because I'm always here. Now, there'll be some people that come into town that want to see you and whatever, yeah. But for any home football game, that happens anyway. But for those who love homecoming, love going back and seeing their friends, love going to the parade, a lot of people, are you going to go to the parade? I said, am I in it? No, I said, then I'm not going to go. It's just me. Okay, again, I live there. Okay. So, I haven't been to a lot of parades in my lifetime. I've, been to a few. Yes, I did go to the Rose Parade. Now, I've been there for 3 Rose Bowls, so I went to 1. I now have done it. We're good. Okay, we're good. But yeah, it's going to be Wisconsin on September 26th, so it's that weekend. So that gives you a chance to plan ahead. But this is where I wish, this is something I've addressed before, I'm going to address it again. The Big Ten, when you see somebody else do something, and you sit back and say, that's a pretty good idea. Okay? Most ideas, or most of what we see today, is not an original idea. Simple as that. It's not an original idea. Now, I would like to point out that I do think the suit is an original. But that's for different reasons. But the NFL has gone out, and it's not going to be next week. I think it's going to be the week after that they do their schedule release. Now, I could care less about watching the schedule release. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I can look it up later. So I'm not going to sit there and watch, NFL Network or whatever it's going to be on this year and have them release the schedule and then analyze each week. It's like, okay, I can throw darts too. And I wish the Big Ten would do that. You have BTN. I don't understand why the Big Ten Network or why the Big Ten as a conference doesn't do a schedule release. You've had this entire off season. Everybody already knows who you're playing. That's why I always laugh about when people, and I've had so many people say to me, says, oh, and then this year's schedule. We knew what this year's schedule was 3 years ago. I can tell you next year's schedule. I can tell you 28. When they released the schedules, they did it on a 5-year plan. So I know, for example, next year, Penn State's going to Oregon next year. Okay. That's great. Right? No issue. Okay. So I already know that. The difference is you don't know how things play out. For example, everybody knew Ohio State and Oregon were off this year's schedule. In fact, for Penn State, it is the first time since they've been in the Big Ten that Ohio State is not on the schedule. They're the only school that has been on the schedule every year since they started in 1993. So they're out, Oregon's out. But you're replacing them with USC, Michigan, and a trip to Washington. Okay. But the difference is you don't know how things play out. You didn't sit there when this came out a couple of years ago. Nobody sat there and said, by the way, hey, we caught a break. Indiana's not on the schedule. You never would have said that 3 years ago. But now it's like, Indiana's not in the schedule either. Okay. But I wish they would now, we already know who they're playing this year. I don't understand how complicated it is to sit there and say, here's the schedule, and by the way, in November, we will allow you to flex games based on what's going on. Because you want to get the maximum of whatever. That I understand. The NFL does that. They'll flex certain games. They'll flex a game out of Monday night, put it on Sunday afternoon because there's a better matchup they want to put on Monday night or put on Sunday night. That's fine. I don't understand why the Big Ten can't do that. And that way fans know, because to me it's got to be, has to be more emphasis on the fans. Because the next part of the schedule release that I'm talking about deals with wrestling, men's ice hockey, and basketball. Why do they come out so late with that? I mean, men's basketball, I think, gets out before the wrestling schedule does. Now, men's basketball also starts earlier than wrestling does, in all fairness. But why is it the third week of September? Why can't you do it in early August? It's the month of May right now. What are you doing in the conference office at this hour? Isn't there a group that's dedicated to just the scheduling part of it? And they need to have more they need to take a longer look at the schedules individually without just throwing the information into a computer. I go back to 3 years ago because it sticks out, where Michigan State in men's basketball, and Tom Izzo has obviously a phenomenal program, 10 home games in the conference that year. Everybody has 10 home games. 6 of them were on Saturday afternoons. Why does Michigan State need 6 Saturday afternoon games? I mean, you get 10, so you get 5 weekend and 5 in the middle of the week. Seems logical to me. But they got 6 Saturday afternoon home games. Now, I realize being Michigan State, they're going to be asked to be in some national games. They're an excellent draw. They're an excellent program. Tom Izzo. Right? So that I do understand. But they had 6 Saturday home games. You know how many Illinois had that year? None. Illinois didn't have a single Saturday afternoon game at home. Iowa that year had 1. Penn State had 1. I remember going out to Iowa to do a basketball game that season. And I said, hey, what do you guys, just casual conversation. What are you guys expecting for a crowd today? I was talking to Gary Dolphin and Bob Hansen. Bobby played with Michael Jordan with the Bulls when they won championships. Hansen's about as good guy as you're ever going to meet. And same thing with Gary. And Bobby says, Jonesy, he says, it's the only Saturday game we have in the conference all year. He says, this is the biggest draw we've had all season. I said, you got to be. I said, yeah, Penn State only had 1. And then I was talking to Brian Barnhart, and Brian said, we had none. Shouldn't there be a little more diligence about this? I'm not saying you can make it absolutely fair for everybody, but I think there has to be a little bit more oversight as to what, when the schedule comes out, I go, okay, hey, let's kind of work this out. This is not right, where this isn't right, that's not fair. And this is the one I love about basketball. One year, Penn State had 2 Friday night home games. And so just talking with somebody from the Big Ten was at one of the games. I said, geez, what's the deal with the Friday night thing? He said, well, I mean, it's a weekend. We consider Friday night a weekend game. I looked at him and I said, what planet are you from? I said, Friday night's not a weekend. He says, well, yeah, I mean, everybody's out of work the whole thing. I said, yeah, they're out of work. I said, they're all going home from work. I said, they all work today. I said, we're in State College. I said, yeah, I think I'm in Harrisburg. I'm just going to make the trip up for the game. No, I don't think so. I said, Saturday, got nothing to do. Let's go to the game. Right? Or it's Mother's Day weekend. I think I'll ask my wife to go to the Baby Pens. What do you mean, no? Oh, we already covered that ground? But, like, there's a thought process that's just like, we'll move the bar wherever we need it. Well, that's a weekend. We gave you a weekend home game. No, you didn't. You didn't give them a weekend home game. And I've already used the example 1,000 times about Penn State wrestling at 6 o'clock at night against Ohio State, 1 versus 2 that year. The line, I mean, I'm going down College Avenue driving home, and the line of cars was all the way down from Porter Road almost to 322, the highway. Like, people just trying to somehow get there in time to see the 125 bout. All right. Greg Murphy in the final half hour. More coming up here. Half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.